is Steven, and I've recently founded an organization dedicated to open source intelligence evangelism. We had our first event not too long ago, and unfortunately some people could not make it, so they asked if I would do anything online. And I told them I didn't plan to, but I would try to do some video components, so here I am today going to do that. Now, when you're looking at open source intelligence, why try to look up business filings? It's a very good question. And the answer is that maybe you're investigating a person who doesn't have a landline phone. Maybe they don't own any land, so there's no land records to grab or anything like that. And maybe they're not on social media. So how do you go about getting information from them? Well, the answer is business filings can be quite good for that because, a business has to have a name of a person and it's got to have an address. So let's go right into this. So first we're going to visit LARA, and that's Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. If you're looking up business filings anywhere but Michigan, you're going to go to Secretary of State. We're just very weird with that. Now, in here you can type in any business name you want. I'm going to type in a specific one, but you can type in a specific one to you. Maybe even someplace that you think is sketchy. Okay, so I typed in the name Fitness Activities. I clicked on it. Now, I want you to scroll down to here, resident agent. So a resident agent is somebody that is designated to take legal documents on behalf of the company. And this address is going to be wherever that resident agent is based out of. It can be the business, but it can also be a personal address or something like that. Now, I want you to copy that. Don't do anything with it yet, and scroll down even further. Let me show you how to navigate this. So, you can pull all filings that business has with the state of Michigan, but maybe you just want the annual statements. Maybe you just want articles of incorporation. There's good reasons for not wanting necessarily all filings, but whichever of these you choose when you hit view filings, that'll be what you get. I am going to go with all filings. Alright, so here we are, and you can click on these and you'll see the filings. A lot of them, some of them are going to be in PDF form, some in TIF form and whatnot. Now here's what I want, and I'm just going to give you a quick example before we go back. So when I was pulling paperwork, I noticed that the paperwork was all being faxed out the same thing. This right here at the top of the document is what you call a fax header. Friad and Saperstein, Devin, and Kuhn. Now, even if you don't know what that business does and you go to look up the paperwork and it's defunct or whatever, what does that sound like? I'll give you a second to think it over. Friad and Saperstein, Devin, and Cohn. Sounds like a law firm, doesn't it? That to me is a significant clue when I'm doing the investigation. Now we can go to Return to Entity Summary. And then from there, let me see if we can go back to just a new search. So let's go to new search right here. Now you remember that thing I had you copy, the resident agent name. I want you to paste it here. Hit enter. So this person is the resident agent for a lot of businesses. Some people can actually contract themselves out to be a resident agent for a business. That is, they aren't affiliated with that business any way, any shape, any form whatsoever. They're just getting some money to be a resident agent. Companies can provide these, but the resident agent does have to be the name of a person, and I believe in the state of Michigan, it does have to be an actual address. It can't just be a P.O. box. Next, we're going to go to licensing check. Licensing check is nothing that sort of knocks your socks off, but let's just say somebody's of a profession where they need to be licensed, like social worker or something like that. I was an EMT once, so, if you type my name into here, let's see what you find. Probably nothing. Yeah, nothing, because I haven't been an EMT in years. My thing is lapsed probably for about a decade now. Now let's type in the name of my old high school president. Class president. They are a nurse practitioner. And so we can verify that through here. Actually, we can just verify they're a registered nurse. And in what county they're operating out of. Well, actually, no, it does say nurse practitioner. Next, we're going to go to SEC violations. Now, some of you who are doing this as a hobby, this might not mean much to you, but some of you who maybe do this professionally might get paid to look into some businesses. In which case, it'd behoove you to try to figure out what the relationships actually are, because there's things like proxies, people making decisions, but they're actually guided by others. Now, we're going to have a little bit of fun here today. So for those of you who don't know who Martha Stewart is, sort of the Dear Abby of my generation, I guess, sort of what this current crop of generation that came after me would say is maybe Rachel Ray. So this was actually big news at the time, if you don't remember it. Martha Stewart, sort of everybody's grandmother and the fine dining and civility lady, actually did get in trouble with the courts over some insider trading. Like I said, it was great news at the time, and let's be honest with ourselves, it was kind of funny. But let's look at something, though, that might not be. Let's look at something that definitely is not funny. Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff did a scheme that took hundreds of people for billions of dollars. People lost their retirement savings, were completely just blown out of the water, and some of them committed suicide. And if you click here, you can see the actual paperwork. Next, we're going to go to Edgar Filings. So this is going to be the stocks and trades that a company is dealing in. I'm just hitting paste and go to make things a bit quicker. I'm going to type in the name William Gates, and I'm most interested in William Gates III. So William Gates III, aka Bill Gates, is sometimes still called in his home city by the people who grew up with him Trays. That was his nickname because he was a third. William Gates III. So here we find out his inner workings, as you can imagine, because he was the, look at that, showing 1 to 32 of 1,000 entries. I mean, look, the man is the head of one of the wealthiest firms out there, Microsoft, and he's been the head of it for something like 30 years. So he's going to have a lot of these trades and everything like that. I don't necessarily speak this language as far as knowing how Wall Street stocks go. At my very first meeting, there was a guy, and he was coming to learn about this process. He was taxed by his company to try to figure out, they tasked him with trying to figure out what the competition is doing. And he actually instantly could decipher all this stuff, stock, bonds, trades, tips, stuff like that. Now we're going to go to the IRS databank reserves. It's unfortunate, but every year some group of people out there decides they don't want to work hard for a living, they want to scam people. And they'll claim to be a nonprofit. And you can check Laura as well, the state, to find out if they're registered within the state and to find out if they're registered with the IRS. It is possible to register with the state before moving on to the IRS because the IRS is a bit lax when it comes to nonprofits, but they should. If you're looking up a nonprofit and they're not in this database, they might be schemers. At the time of doing this, there's a very prominent organization in the news. I'm not going to talk about that organization, but apparently a lot of people thought it was a nonprofit. It's actually an LLC. But what I will talk about is this group called Operation Underground Railroad. Now, for those of you who aren't a student of history, Underground Railroad actually is an old term. It applies to slaves who are looking to, when we had legalized slavery, looking to get north, essentially. So we're going to do that. Search. Now this charity is led by Tim Ballard. Tim Ballard has claimed at various points to have been a member of the Department of Homeland Security and also a member of the CIA, or possibly both. He seems to have real trouble keeping his story straight. And to be honest with you, his claims, they seem inflated. I don't think his organization is doing as much as they say it is, and I'm willing to call him a charlatan here online where everybody can hear me. Yeah, I don't think his organization has freed 700 people in 2 years. That would be just astronomical. Also, if you go and look at the footage, if you're somebody who knows about arresting people, handcuffing people and whatnot, his footage definitely looks faked. But you can click on this, get determination letters. You can go find out tax returns. Faith-based organizations, 501c3s, don't need to do tax returns. I know, hallelujah, right? And if you did, you could actually look those up right here. I know, and I just have to do this in April. And this is one of the reasons why they've come to the attention investigation of the Attorney General of Utah. You know, that this is an organization that has amassed a lot of wealth and power. I mean, that's millions right there. I put this, I'm not going to visit these sites, but these are two sites that claim to rate charities, and their metric is how those charities spend money. For those of you not in the know, there's an industry standard sort of called the 70-30. If I give $1,000 to some organization, it's acceptable that that organization uses 300 of those dollars on themselves and uses the 700 on what they're trying to do. Some organizations are going to be really good. 90% is going to go to what they need. Now we're going to go to Otis here. Another open source thing. Offender Tracking Information System. So this is for the state of Michigan if you're wondering if somebody is currently locked up. Now, and I'm just going to enter a generic name here. Adam Smith, there's going to be a bunch of those. And you could find out, where they're being held and everything like that, location. Sometimes this will come in handy. Sometimes this is going to be a dead end. Let's go to Federal Bureau of Prisons. So just like there's a state, of course, correction system. State's honestly the biggest. But then there's federal laws, things that bank robbers would go to, anybody who does interstate crime, stuff like that. And again, we're going to have some fun here with Martha Stewart. Okay, yep, look at that. So it says released on, but I believe she actually was only ever had house arrest. It was a very minor SEC infraction. But then again, we're going to look at Bernard Madoff. Yeah, my typing sucks. Now this is really relevant. He died in custody and says deceased on. Death records can be extremely hard to find. I gotta look into maybe seeing a tutorial that gets you these. It can be very hard to find out the records of the deceased or the coroner records. It's definitely not a straight line. Here's another interesting one. I'm going to get into this a little bit more. I'm actually doing a workshop just called Google Fu. Sort of, play on the word Kung Fu. So let's say you want to find some business filings with the state of Michigan. Whoops. That was not what I wanted to do. Okay, you're going to copy that, what I have, down there. But you want to go to google.com, and then you want to paste it here. Now, site, file type, those are what is known as Google operators, and like I said, I will be doing a separate workshop on them. But essentially what I'm telling Google is I'm making something highly surgical. What I'm doing is I'm saying I only want Google to return sites from this domain, michigan.gov. I only want Google to give me a certain file type. PDF, as it's very common. I have in quotes here Barton Mallow, so Google will not send me anything that does not have that specific phrase as put in the quotes. That's what quotes do. Now, let's do Google search. As you can see, I get a lot of very interesting stuff here. I get mostly what I'm going to get is contracts and things of that nature. Find out how much Barton Mallow ponied up for a contract, how much they were paid. Did they bid? Was it a no-bid contract? Now I want you to look at that number, 557. I'm going to adjust the term Barton Mallow, and I'm going to put in Ford Motor Company. So look at that number, 557. Now look at Ford Motor Company, almost 2,000. What's the difference? Well, Ford Motor Company is a much larger international firm. It shouldn't surprise anybody that they have much more contracts and documentation with the state than Barton Mallow does. I can look up an old company I worked for, a very small company that just does vending with the state of Michigan, Camus. And it's going to be fewer results again. And the central reservation system for DNR. Yep, that's us. That's what we did at any point. Okay, so now that I've taught you some of that, it's time to go with land. Just like I said that it's very useful to look into business filings because you may be trying to find somebody who don't want to be found. That's just the nature of open source investigative work. Likewise, land is in the same thing. Every section of land in Michigan has a parcel assigned to it. Now, this is the part where the demo has has unfortunately not been kind to me. Every time I've tried to do this, there's a thing, so I just have all this pretty much preloaded in a different window. Okay. So we're going to go to there. We are going to scroll down. I agree to these terms, launch the map watch now viewer, and we want to proceed to site. I really hope this loads so you can see the process and go through it. Wow, it did. Okay, so I have some other stuff loaded as well here. Now, again, this usually borks on me, so I apologize for that. Now, a couple ways you can go about this. You can zoom in and do a parcel search, or if you know the address of a location, you can actually just type it into the search thing. I'm going to teach you how to go and zoom in on this maybe. Like I said, I always run into some issues when I try to do this. It's funny, I mentioned that I'm running into these issues and have difficulty using this, but on the time I actually mention that it's going to fail, it doesn't. The demo gods are a beautiful, beautiful creature. And you're just going to want to zoom in till you start seeing much more along the lines here of polygons or whatnot. And I'm going to look into 610 Washtenaw. And I'm just going to do this right here for a bit of fun. I used to live there. Nice little place. Now, I'm going to click on Detailed Parcel Info. Now, before I do that, you may just, if you're following along for the sake of doing this, may just want to actually jot down that parcel number. We will be using the parcel number later, so give me just a couple seconds here. I still can't believe that this actually worked. Like I said, I've been doing this video several times, and it usually doesn't work when I do this, so I'm a bit surprised. So that's the parcel number right there, just jot it down. Now, I'm going to go to Detailed Parcel Info. BS&A, so for those of you who don't know, the county, we look at this information, this is GIS information. That is Geographic Information Systems. Geographic Information Systems, specifically by the package ESRI or ESRI, the software firm makes this ARC-GIS, just called ARC-GIS. And it's been a big hit with a lot of researchers because it charts everything from waste disposal to floodplains to migration and everything like that. Every county has ARC-GIS data available. It's just a question of finding out where it is. Yeah, I live in Washtenaw County, so I know how to get it. So we clicked on Detailed Parcel Info. I'm going to click on this right here. And look at all the information we get here. We have owner information. Is it residential or business? We have what value it was assessed at. And we're going to go deeper, and we're going to look into maybe sales history. Sometimes you have unscrupulous people trying to hide assets. They'll do like a $1 transfer or something like that. So a place that's valued at hundreds of thousands sold for $1. And oftentimes residential zones, you have to submit a photo of the thing, and then also a photo of the floor plan. Now we're going to go to the assessor's office. So the assessor's office is the office in a city, and basically assessor, that is your tax person. There's that line in V for Vendetta, government, are you sure they're going to have the records or whatnot? And the guy goes, governments may rise and fall, tax records always stay. Now we're going to be okay. We want to hold on here. Let me go back. I think I actually hit something up. There we go. This is what we want. So we're going to go to BS&A Property Search Portal. I think BS&A might even be headquartered out of Michigan. Again, clicking on this. So address, so 610 Washtenaw. It's already there. Search. Again, we're going to be getting much of this. This is another way to get, so if you don't have the GIS data from the county, this is another way to go about doing it. Look, we still get there. Reason why it's important to maybe have more than one method is open source intelligence isn't a straight line. I hate spiders, but at the same time, I can't help but use the analogy that it's a spider's web, essentially. This is the last one we're going to be looking into. And this is getting stuff from the county. Now, this property doesn't have any delinquent taxes, but nevertheless, it's an index of all properties. So Click on Property, Parcel Lookup. Click on Proceed to Site. Now this site right here annoys a lot of people because they mistype stuff. Whenever you put in however many amount of characters this particular cell can hold, it'll automatically put your cursor someplace else. So for instance, 11, I had 1, 1. See, it automatically does that. This annoys a lot of people. Just know it's out there. And again, what do we get? We can view details here. We can just click on this. And what do we have here? Well, we got, is there a delinquent tax? Nope, no delinquent taxes on there. I really didn't want to open that up, but I did. History, sales history, legal description, and parcel summary. So this is pretty much going to conclude everything. Thank you all for attending. Thank you all for watching this. And yes, that document I had at the beginning is going to be linked in the description. It's a Google document. I hope you all enjoy and can go through this.